Hi friends, miss you all. Can't wait to see you soon. Here are some of the fun activities that I've been doing. Here I am working on a puzzle. This is a 1,000 piece puzzle and I'm about to find a piece right here. So as you can see, we have been able to complete a lot of the puzzle, but there's still a little bit left to do. So hopefully, with the help of my family, I will be able to complete the remainder of this puzzle. So now I would like to show you guys how to make some delicious homemade banana bread. Here I have laid out all of the ingredients that we will be using to make the banana bread. The first thing we're going to do is combine the sugar and softened butter into a large mixing bowl. The recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar and 1/3 cup of butter, but I wanted to double the recipe to make more, so I used 2 cups of sugar and 2/3 cups of butter. To soften the butter, I put it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. Next, we are going to mix the sugar and butter together. I used an electric mixer, but you can also mix it by hand. Now I'm going to crack some eggs and add them to the butter and sugar. The recipe calls for 2 eggs, but since I doubled it, I added 4. Next, the recipe says to slice 3 to 4 medium-sized ripe bananas into small pieces and add them into the bowl with the eggs, sugar, and the butter. Since I doubled the recipe, I used 7 bananas. The recipe also says to add in the water. Here I poured in 2/3 cups of water, but the recipe calls for 1/3 cup. Next, after stirring in the bananas and water, you need to add baking soda, salt, baking powder, and flour to the bowl. First, I added in 2 teaspoons of baking soda, then I added 1 teaspoon of salt, then 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and finally I added in 3 1/3 cups of flour. So now you just need to mix, and remember that the original recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 2/3 cups of flour. Now is a good time to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Now I am just adding in 1 cup of chopped walnuts and stirring them in. Remember, the original recipe calls for 1/2 cup of walnuts. Now it's time to pour the banana bread mixture into a pan. I just used disposable aluminum foil loaf pans. Don't forget to coat your pans with butter. Once the oven is done preheating, put on some oven mitts and put your bread in the oven. The bread will need to bake for about 50 minutes, so don't forget to set a timer. Once the timer goes off, put on some oven mitts and pull out the bread. You'll want to check to make sure it's done by using a toothpick to poke the center. If the toothpick is clean, you're done. If not, put the bread back in the oven. And here is the finished product. Hope you enjoyed the video, friends.